Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're in studio to talk about something that's been circulating the internet. It's a video from Wilson Combat where they interview Ken Hackathorn, and he's talking about weapons mounted lights and perhaps lasers, maybe red dot sights, stuff like that. We'll play the video for you later in the video. But before we get into today's video, folks, we want to do a quick word from our sponsor, and we'll jump right in talking about, do lights, red dot sights, and things like that have a home on your defensive firearm? Let's talk about it. We all live in a virtual space. We live online. We enjoy posting online. We like watching videos. We like posting on X. We like reading our emails and sending emails and surfing all sorts of different websites. But the reality is the internet can be a very dangerous place. And that's why today I want to talk about Aura, who is sponsoring today's video. If you want to do something that's kind of scary, Google yourself, Google your name, Google your email address, Google your address, and look at all the information that pops up that's quite public. Now, there's other groups out there that will harvest that information, aggregate that information, and they'll sell it to other people. And this can become a security risk for you. So it would be beneficial to have Aura standing between you and those that would do you harm, that would try to steal your identity, to get loans in your name, take over your bank accounts, get into private things like your email. You need somebody standing watch over you, and Aura does that, and they do it for a very affordable monthly fee. Data brokers will sell your information to scammers, spammers, and anyone else that's going to want to target you. Your full name, email, home address, health records, your relatives, it's all out there, folks. That's why I've been using Aura, the sponsor of today's video, as I had mentioned. Aura will show me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out requests on my behalf. You can get other features such as antivirus software, VPNs, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more without having to download several different applications. It's really easy to set up, and best of all, I get everything at one affordable price. I value my privacy, and I value your privacy as well. So you really should check out Aura. You can do that by following the link in the video description below, which is aura.com/military arms. So joining me in studio today is Jason. Hey guys, usually behind the camera. Now he's in front of the camera. And we're going to talk about this, just have a conversation around the video. We just recently watched it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to throw that up here really quick for you guys so you know the video that we're talking about. I also posted about this over on X, formerly Twitter, and I think it has like 800 comments, people chiming in. It's worth reading those comments and getting those different perspectives, which we're going to try to cover off in today's video.
Now everybody wants to be a cool kid and have all these gadgets in their gun. Okay, you carry a gun, especially if you're in the private sector. You're not a soldier, you're not in law enforcement. If you carry a gun with a light on it, when's the last time you needed that? And most people, if they're honest, will tell you, well, not really. I had a guy tell me, well, yeah, but if I have to change a tire, I go, are you an idiot?
But you know that's happened.
Oh, I remember seeing a picture in a newspaper it was an accident scene. Individual was being treated by the medics, and here's a police officer with his pistol, light on, doing this so they can see what they're doing. Yeah. And I remember I cut out the paper, I don't know where it's at, but I thought, okay, this is what you're not supposed to do. Yeah.
I mean, pull it off, make it a handheld, put the whole, and
yeah.
Well,
the bottom line is, I think lights in today's world are extremely overrated.
All right, man. So you've seen the video, as have I, and it's really interesting. Now, I've met Ken Hackathorn, right? And he's kind of well known in the tactical community, right? He's been around for a while, and his opinions have been respected, generally speaking. And so when he made this video, the comments got very divisive. He had people making response videos. And of course, you know how things go on the internet, quickly devolves into name calling and insults. But I want to have a non-name calling, non-insult driven conversation about, does it really make sense to have a light, a red dot on a defensive handgun? How about a rifle? Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. So I'll be the first to say that most of the time on my handguns, I'll have a weapons light. Red dot sights, I've been advocating for those things, this, for well over 10 years.
Oh,
15 plus years I've been advocating for red dot sights on handguns. So red dot sights and lights, to me, seem fairly normal. As a matter of fact, if you take a look at this little compact SIG P365 I have here, weapons mounted lights have gotten pretty darn small. It's not the 1980s where we have mag lights, 6-cell mag lights hanging under guns that, have 50 lumens. Now we're talking about, 400 lumens and little tiny packages. So it's not like this really substantially increases the size of the gun, which is part of the argument against them, right? But do you carry a light on your defensive firearms, handguns, and rifles? We have both out here today.
Yes, absolutely. I mean,
and why is that?
Well, I mean, we're human, right? We don't exactly have night vision built into our eyes. We have to buy night vision devices to put on there. And even, that is a cool superpower to have, if you will. But what happens when you walk into a dark room? You try to find a light switch. You turn on lights so you can see. You turn on the headlights of your car. You turn on all these things to brighten the night or brighten a dark anything. So it only makes sense to me, and I'd say 9 times out of 10, if you're going to have an attack or get into a defensive situation, it's either going to be a break-in in the night, or it's going to be somebody in a dark, dimly lit nighttime
alley, building, parking garage. Yeah.
And so what are you going to do? You want to light up the situation. You want to see. You want to see as much as you can and take in as much as you can to see how many threats or what's going on. Is there 1 person, 3 people, 5?
Right.
Does he actually have a weapon?
Right.
You know what I mean? Or is it just somebody it's not mentally all there saying comments that you're just, whoa, what was that? It's
right.
You can see what's going on. Yes, there are threats. If there's threats going on to your life or your family or whatever, that gun needs to be out. So,
and another thing that we were talking about pre-show was what if you actually get into a gunfight and it goes past just boom and it's over? It becomes something that lasts for a minute or so, right? 30 seconds, a minute, maybe even longer, where you're taking cover and you're trying to move around and it's dark outside. Now you're looking for that threat that's trying to evade you. How are you going to do that without a light? Right?
Yeah.
And what's one of the first things you're taught in hunter safety? Don't shoot at sounds. And in this case, don't shoot at shadows, right? Unless you actually know what's in that person's hands and if they're truly a threat or not. Now, it gets into the whole discussion of like, well, carrying a pocket light versus a weapons mounted light. Don't use the weapons mounted light as a pocket light. And I agree with all that.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Yeah, don't use your gun as a flashlight.
When he talked about like a police officer or something, and he didn't have the exact article, using his weapon, if you will, with the weapon light to light up this person changing a tire. That is definitely not something you want to do. You know what I mean? That is what a pocket light would be for or something like that.
Right.
So, I definitely agree with that. But the fact, I think he's getting at, and I don't remember the guy's name, but there was the one service member that basically said anybody wearing tactical gear, is playing fake military or they're LARPing or whatever it is, right?
Was that the Medal of Honor recipient?
Yeah.
Dakota Meyer?
Yes, there we go. Thank you. When he said that, this video reminds me of that. This is somebody going out there telling people, that they have no business or no need for that. You know what I mean? It's like, why?
And I thought it was curious. So first of all, he does start off attacking other people by saying kids.
Yep.
Kids think these doodads are cool or something to that effect, right? Mm. And so that's going to set people on edge.
Playing soldier, I think he said, yeah.
And so you're setting the tone of the conversation to follow. So the blow up in the comments of all these videos don't surprise me when you go out and first thing out of your mouth is you attack somebody, call them a kid and say they're tactical in essence. I'm paraphrasing. But then he also made another odd comment. So if you're not law enforcement and military, you have no need for these things. And that's where other people, I'm not attacking Ken. That's not what this video is about. We're just having a discussion, but people were calling him a FUD. And why would they say that? Well, because coming out of the FUD era, right? The people like Joaquin Jackson that used to sit on the NRA board, a real man only needs 5 rounds, and those plastic rifles are useless and AR-15s are junk. And that's the type of stuff that we combated for decades in the 2A community, right? Now AR-15s are the most commonly sold rifle in the world. 30 years ago, that wasn't, or in the United States, that wasn't the case 30 years ago, right? So opinions have evolved, but technology also changes, right? Lights have gotten smaller, red dot sights become practical, they're being more and more used. And so he's kind of advocating for, I think, first of all, I don't understand the military police, they need it, but you don't understand that one at all. I mean, a gunfight's a gunfight.
Doesn't
right?
make any sense, yeah.
But then one of the things you touched on, taking a look at your target, well, the counter argument to that, and it was made by people that are opposed to using weapons mounted lights, would like, well, I don't want to illuminate myself. I don't want to make myself a target. You just broadcast to the world, here I am. Well, not really. There's a reason why special operations teams, CQB teams, almost all CQB warriors, be that, people that kick in doors on the law enforcement side or people that kick in doors on the military side, they all have lights on their weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? So they can identify threats, right? That's the whole point. So when you're saying that they need it, but you don't, so when I'm clearing my house at 2 a.m. because I heard a bump in the night, I don't need to see what I'm doing. I can just shoot at shadows. So I don't understand any of that. And if you have the proper training, you only use that light when you need to see something, you turn it right back off.
Right.
It's disorienting, right? You have lights that pulse that can disorient people. Bright lights will disorient people for a millisecond, giving you actually the advantage. The minute I hit you with a bright light,
right,
you wince.
Yeah,
Because in a dark room,
surprise.
your eyes naturally want to close, right? So it does have a tactical advantage. That's why tactical teams use them. So I don't get the argument that they need it, you don't. That to me is where the FUD arguments are coming from. Like, well, the government can have it, but you can't. Yeah, that does sound kind of like Joaquin Jackson to me a little bit.
Well, it does, because when he talks like that, it does. Most of the gun control stuff that the NRA has pushed and has helped write and all that other stuff is based off of the way that man is talking. It's based off of, I say you don't really need it, therefore, nobody really needs it. It's like, no, most people that put this stuff on their rifle have either gotten that information from people that know what they're doing. There is a lot of retired, military members, operators, special forces guys that have training classes and courses. And if you look at their curriculum of like what to bring, most of it consists of a rifle with an optic and a light and a whatever on it. You know what I mean?
If you're doing CQB training, those are requirements.
So they're going to, most of these people know when they put the stuff on their weapon, how to use it. They know what they're doing with it.
And
they're
I
not
would
just
say
putting it on there for the cool factor or anything like that. Like they're going to use it for what its intended purpose is and target identification.
Right. So like me, I enjoy shooting iron sights, but in the age of red dot sights or magnified optics like ACOGs and things like that, would I want to get into a gunfight with iron sights? No, unless it's just ideal conditions, which almost never is. Like plenty of sunlight. Sun's not in my eyes, so my front sight isn't washing out because the sun's like right in front of me. Red dot sights and optics change the game. That's the reason the militaries are using them now, right? It's because as technology advances and things like red dot sights become more practical, they do increase hit probability. It's just a simple matter of fact. I mean, we know that. That's why everybody's using them. So why wouldn't you want that on your defensive firearm? I don't understand the arguments against it. And I'm not saying, and we always say this too, do you? I'm not telling you have to put a light or a red dot sight on your handgun. If you like shooting iron sights and you're proficient and that makes you comfortable, good. I'm not going to criticize you for that. But don't criticize me and call me a kid or a tactical Ted or whatever derogatory pejorative you want to throw at me because I put a light and a red dot sight on my gun. But as long, and I will also say, to your point, there is a lot more training that goes on today than when I was a kid growing up in the 80s. Matter of fact, when I was a kid growing up in the 80s, training courses, I didn't remember seeing those really advertised much, even in the gun magazines that were popular at the time, right? Today, that's like a huge industry in the United States.
Yeah.
So there are people out there that don't know how to use a light properly or a red dot sight, but there are also people out there that have guns that never even fired them, but carrying them every day. So you can't really use that as an argument. I would say that the 2A community is better armed and better trained today than it was 30 years ago.
Absolutely.
And it's only getting better.
Yep.
As
and
it
that's
should.
the nice thing to see is it is only getting better.
Right.
I really like to see a lot of these guys. And there's tons of people that go out there and criticize somebody for training or whatever it is, and they've never served or whatever it is, right? I've seen some military members, and I've even seen some police. We've even had them here in the shop where they pulled their gun from their holster to compare the size while pointing it at an employee or
a loaded weapon, known loaded weapon.
Yes.
Yep.
Or even military. Like even when I was in basic, you were on the shooting line. I understood iron sights because I grew up shooting, right? I walked up there and he made his, click adjustments with the tool and shoot again or whatever. Some people, they're like all over the place and they're trying to explain to them, this is what you got to do. You know what I mean? Just because they were in the military does not mean that their weapon's proficient.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They just give them the very basic knowledge to send them out wherever and you're expendable. in the
But people
military.
always look up to folks in uniform, be that law enforcement or military. And sure, there's a certain, I would say that there is a certain element of people wanting to look tactical, right? They may not need all the gear that they have, but they want the gear. And you know what? I don't care.
I don't
Buy
care.
whatever you want.
Do whatever you
I'm
want,
a capitalist.
man. Yep.
I'm a freedom-loving person. You do you. If you can afford it, even if you can't afford it, if you want to put it on credit, I'm not here to tell you what you can and can't do with your money.
Yep.
You go do you.
And
if you want a plate carrier and you want quad nods and you're willing to put your house in hock to get all that stuff, who am I to criticize you?
you be you.
Right.
You know? It brings me back to even that other, like really, and it's older video, that real popular one of that police officer, like showing the gun to kids. I'm a police officer. I'm the only one trained in this room to operate and shoot
Boom.
NDs into himself. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay. And we see this a lot, you know, like we hear about this stuff happening a lot. So to sit there and on that video and say only those people should have it and nobody else, it's like, well, some of those people are just as negligent and crazy as, you know, anybody else. So, you know, the best thing that I can say is, yes, most certainly have a weapon light, pocket light, something.
Right.
Make sure you're trained and proficient with it. Don't use your weapon mounted light to light the way for your family walking in front of you or to change a tire or something. That is you're breaking a lot of, you know, safety rules and things like that. A lot of bad can happen from that. But yeah, put a weapon light on there so you can see a dark room, so you can see a target.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you have the money to invest in a $500 handgun, $200 light, $300 red dot sight, you get where I'm going with this. If you got the money for that and you got the money to buy the ammunition for it, you probably also have the money to get some training. And so if you want to run a weapons mounted light, go learn how to use it because it is an asset in my opinion. Now, everybody may not agree with me in that assessment and I'm fine with that. You don't have to agree with me.
Yeah.
Run your iron sights, run your M1 Garand or M1 carbine. I don't care. Do you. But on my defensive rifle, I have two requirements. An optic of some sort, usually a red dot sight. Sometimes I mess with LPVOs, like on the Spear, but always an optic, and I always have a light.
Yeah.
I may put a hand stop here or there, always a sling, but that's it. Now, I've played around with IR lasers and daylight visible lasers and all that stuff. If you guys go back a few years in my videos with the BCM I was using at the time, I had all that stuff on it, right? I slowly started to peel that stuff off my weapon because even at my age, I'm still learning, right? I decided I didn't need that IR laser because I'm not really using nods. Right. And if I do want to use something to see at night, it's generally a thermal because I prefer thermals. They're passive, truly passive. Every nod I've ever played with requires a light source, an IR light source, to truly be able to see what's going on around you unless you got a full moon out. At which point my eyes are still good enough. I can see just fine without the nods.
Snow on the ground or moon and, you know, full moon or something that really spread and diffuse the light everywhere so you can see the distances. Most of the time, if there's no moon and it's pitch black, you just see a few feet in front of you or so, unless you turn on an IR.
That IR light on. But now you are broadcasting because anybody with $300 in an Amazon account can buy cheap imported night vision.
Yep.
And you can see IR lights from a long ways away.
Yep.
Thermals are truly passive. They have their limitations. We could do a whole video on that, comparing those two. But the whole point is that that technology has a use. I'm not saying nods are useless. They're not.
No.
I'm not saying thermals are only good for certain applications. No, that's kind of true. But you know what I'm saying is decide for yourself what you want on your hunting rifle, your defensive handgun, and don't let other people tell you what you need and don't need. Try to be a free thinker. Absorb as much information as you can. I highly recommend getting training. YouTube is a great source of information. It can also be a bad source of information, but that's no different than the gun magazines when I was a kid growing up. A lot of bad information I learned over the years, right? Anytime an opinion is given to you, it can be a bad opinion.
Absolutely.
And you have to be able to critically think and sort through, okay, this is my life. This is what I do on a daily basis. And this is what I think I need. Let me go out and see if this makes sense for me. And experiment. Lights aren't that expensive. Red dot sights aren't that expensive. The gun costs more than both. If you got the gun and the ammo, you might want to try using some of these different tools and see if it works for you. And if you decide it doesn't, who am I to tell you you're wrong?
Right.
So,
yeah, no, that video was interesting. It really was. When he first started, like you said, with the insult and everything like that, I was just like, what? Really?
Yeah.
This is still a thing? There's still somebody saying stuff like that right now? For real? You know, and it was interesting. It's just like,
The
and
comments
as
are
we
gold.
talk about as we get older, our eyes don't work as good. Most of us, when they go outside to walk their dogs at night, they flashlight or something because they're looking for, a raccoon or a possum or something, so their dog doesn't, go after it or get attacked by it. Or
I've
whatever
popped more than
be,
one
right?
raccoon at our chicken coop at night. Yeah.
So, it just only makes sense. It only makes sense to, if that's what you want to do it. You do you.
Yep.
Get one, great. Don't get one, I don't care.
Yep.
So
I totally agree. And the whole, argument that, and the comments are interesting because it seemed to be about evenly split, but there was an argument made that these just made the guns too big and unconcealable, which I totally disagree with. I'd get the right holster. I think this is a very concealable handgun.
Well, the part that we talk about in the video is the pistol grip.
Yep.
That's
This is what's going to print.
prints.
Yep. Well, people say that this might, if you appendix carry, this might be uncomfortable. But you've seen me appendix carry large frame, full size P320s with lights and red dot sights. You see me appendix carry 1911s and Glock 17s. I mean, it's all about choosing the right holster and choosing the right handgun to go in that holster, right? I'm a big guy, so I can carry big firearms. So I don't get the size and weight. This is not an unconcealable handgun to me. I don't get that argument. I don't understand the argument that, lights give away your position. No, you just need to learn how to use that light. But then the other argument that I struggled with the comments, right? This wasn't in the video, but this is just in the comments. People are saying, well, yeah, I put lights on my bedside gun and my, handgun and rifle I keep by my bed at night, but not on my daily carry. Huh? Like, why would you have two different configurations? Like when I'm training to learn how to use a firearm, I want to make sure that I practice, manipulations with the button, how to turn the light on, how to turn the light off, how to get, momentary on, constant on, how to use the red dot sight. Why would I change that up, have this on my bedside, and then take another P365, take the red dot sight off, take the flashlight off, and that's what I carry every day? I don't understand that either, right? So a lot of the arguments, I think that folks have a preconceived idea of what they think they need and don't need, and then they just look for arguments to justify their position, and they don't really truly try to objectively look at things, which is what we're trying to do in this video, right? Is to objectively look at things and not to be closed-minded to new technologies. Like, gosh, man, I remember all the flack I took about saying red dot sights are the future for handguns. I was called an idiot and a shill for whatever red dot sight I was talking for at that particular time. I'm like, and people called it a fad. I even seen that in some of the comments on Ken Hackathorn's video. People are saying, oh, weapons lights are fads. Okay, lights a fad. No. It's like saying computers are fads. iPhones are fads. No, that technology is here to stay because it improves our interaction with the internet in case the iPhone and lights and red dot sights improve hit probability. And also in my mind, it's a safety issue, right? Being able to clearly see and identify that threat to me makes more sense than maybe shooting at a shadow you think might be a threat. So I don't know. I just I don't understand some of the arguments that folks make. It seems like, especially with I do this for my bedside gun, but I don't do it for the one I carry. I don't understand that.
Yep.
But all right. Well, anyway, folks, like we said earlier in the video, you do you. You don't need to take my word for it or Jason's word for it. If you're interested in a light, go pick one up. They're not crazy expensive. You can just pick up a cheap one. I mean, there's really affordable lights out there and just see if it's going to work for you. And then you can upgrade to, a Surefire or whatever it is you want that costs more money. But experiment and definitely get that training. And I think that your eyes may be opened if you're opposed to red dots and lasers and lights and whatnot, whatever it is that you're opposed to. Get some experience with it, then come back and revisit it. And maybe we can have a conversation about it down the road when some new technology pops. I don't know what the next technology thing might be, but I don't know. Maybe it's thermals on handguns.
Well,
can you imagine a thermal that size?
I want to say either a Holosun or somebody was making a pistol mounted like thermal and things like that.
It was, oh my gosh. It was like, I remember seeing it at SHOT Show like 6-7 years ago.
It's been a while. And then, they keep
faded
on,
out.
There's things that keep on popping. You know what I mean? Like the same. SHOT Show is so funny because you'll see the same thing reintroduced as new that was new like over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And it's, you kind of see the developments as they go, but it is interesting to see the technologies that are going. And I don't poo-poo on any of it.
Mm-mm.
Any of it.
I try to embrace it.
Right. It's like, okay, let's try it out. Let's check it out. Maybe there's something to it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's, doesn't work for me or it doesn't work for me. And I'm not going to go online and go, this
You're
didn't
an
work
idiot.
for me. Nobody should have it. You know,
Right,
like
right.
only these people should have it. You know, like I don't buy that. You know,
No.
that only a certain group should have this. It's like no, I want it too.
Yep. Before you poo-poo something, I guess the whole point of my point in this video is just try it before you diss on it
Yeah.
and say that, oh, that's complete garbage and I don't need that. Or on the other end of that spectrum, if you're going out there to buy like an IR laser for your rifle, try to assess before you spend all that money whether or not you truly need it, or is this just a gizmo I want to play with a couple of times at night like I did and then never really use it. Right. So
Yeah.
that knife cuts both ways.
I'd be curious if he's using a weapon-mounted light, but
Apparently he thinks they're a bad idea.
I'd be curious.
He might be carrying a 1911 because there's a Wilson combat video. He might be
It's
carrying a
just like-
1911 with iron sights and no light.
I mean, I'd be a little curious.
Yeah.
Maybe like that California, senator that said weapons and guns are bad that was traffic them. So, I mean,
You never know.
you never know.
All right,
So-
folks. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Comment down below. Tell us what you think. And maybe one of your comments will bring up a topic that we'll want to discuss in a future studio video like this one. If you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms Channel, the best way to do that is to become part of our Patreon family. There's a link in the video description below. Right here on YouTube, you got the little thanks and join button. You can mash either one of those buttons and support us right here on YouTube in the age of demonetization. Please swing by, check out Copper Custom. Thank you for 16 years of support. And we'll talk to you guys soon.
Take care, guys.